On this episode of Mythbusters, we get behind the wheel, ride the rails, and take flight. As we go behind the scenes,
Jamie!
Get the inside story.
He, for some reason, forgot to turn off the key.
You're sitting there watching it, your mind cannot process it.
And count down the top 12 plane, train, and automobile moments.
That was definitely the strangest thing I had ever done in my life up till that point. Today, it's just another day at the office.
Who are the Mythbusters? Adam Savage.
Oh, it's scientific!
And Jamie Hyneman.
Is that hot enough for you?
Between them, more than 30 years of special effects experience. Joining them, Grant Imahara.
He's alive!
Carrie Byron.
I was less excited after my first kiss.
And Tori Belleci.
Dude, that was the coolest thing I've ever done!
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test. Buckle up and stay on track, because it's chocks away for the Planes, Trains, and Automobiles special.
What are you doing?
Oh, I'm adding a little special effects wizardry to the opening of the show.
Wizardry, huh?
Yeah, check it out. I could be in space. Or underwater. Or in the case of this particular episode, a plane, a train, or an automobile. That's what this whole episode is going to be about. Our favorite behind-the-scenes moments and never-told tales about anything we've ever had to do with planes, trains, and automobiles.
You mean like when you peed on the third rail?
Exactly. There we go.
Or when you got sick with the Blue Angels?
Precisely.
Or like when you crashed your concrete glider?
Okay, are we going to be totally negative about everything to do with this episode?
No, I'll go along for the ride.
Good. Let's go.
And to kickstart this dirty dozen, where do we begin?
Vehicles have always been fertile for us. You might even say that vehicles have provided the cornerstone of Mythbuster material. Trying to pick out 12 moments in all of these years, it's gonna be tricky, but if we're gonna start anywhere, I would start with planes.
Roger that. Because the aviation wing of Mythbusters has been in full swing for some time. And for our first moment, here's Captain Hyneman.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. Put your tray tables and your seats in the full upright position. Make sure you have all your seat belts engaged, and kiss your ass goodbye.
It's the magic moment the Mythbusters earn their wings being talked into land.
The pilot has died. For some reason, I'm the one they turn to land the plane. I get on the horn and say hello. Hello, air traffic control, talk me how to fly this beast, land these people safely, man, and he says yes. That's my task.
And to test that, they got their hands on one heck of a big boy's toy.
Over the years, we've been given some pretty amazing toys to play with. The Bloodhound for Beat the Bloodhound. Fighter jets for Sonic Boom.
Holy crap.
And that huge hurricane-producing thing called the Medusa for Hurricane Window.
That is awesome.
But we've never been actually allowed to fly a plane for an experiment. It turns out the FAA is pretty strict about the rules under which someone's allowed to fly a plane, and we don't apply.
But thanks to air traffic controller Terry Rager, they didn't need to take to the sky.
Welcome aboard.
Eventually, we were able to get the next best thing, and we got access to a flight simulator at NASA. Of course, we broke it in the process, but what are you gonna do?
But the control, where the guys had to land without any assistance from the tower,
Terrain. Okay. That means I'm really close to the terrain.
went just about as well as could be expected.
I pretty much crashed and burned almost immediately. It was grisly.
Okay, wait. Oh, wait. Ah! Ah!
I don't think I did so well.
I was really surprised how difficult it was to try and fly that plane with no help and no experience at all. The thing was that all the gauges in the plane, they're not really labeled. I need to find my speed. Why can't I find my speed?
And inside the ultra-realistic simulator, not being able to find the controls was the least of Jamie's problems.
Why is it telling me not to think?
We were wondering what sort of narrative occurred at the FAA for them to put this phrase into a plane to start yelling at the pilot under some kind of crash conditions. Don't think?
Yeah, shut up.
It was only later we realized that the plane was saying, don't sink.
And after 2 crash landings, enter Air Control Swami Terry.
Okay.
Could he talk our rookie pilots down?
The most astonishing thing was, though, with guidance from our air traffic controller, we were able to land the plane.
Okay, what's your pitch out attitude?
I'm at 5 degrees over.
Very good.
Yep, despite flying blind, Terry calmly and precisely talked not just one Mythbuster,
I'm stopped.
Congratulations, Shavy, you made it.
but 2 through 2 landings.
Okay, pull the nose up.
That plane wasn't gonna fly again, but all the people inside of it were alive. It might have been a different story with 300 passengers, but quite honestly, if I'm ever in a plane and someone asks, can someone fly this plane, I might just raise my hand.
Next is a moment about staying on your toes.
Though towing is our best choice when we're trying to crash vehicles because we're not going to drive them, it can present a few problems.
Indeed, and those problems are familiar to every Mythbusters viewer.
It's gonna go into the water.
No, yes!
Which is why occasionally we get professional help.
Specifically in the area of crashes, we've needed a level of accuracy that exceeds anything we've been able to achieve on the show. And in those cases, we've actually resorted to specialized crash test facilities.
At these testing facilities, they crash cars all the time. That was so Hollywood! They have ironed out all the bugs. They do this every single day, except for when we show up. For instance, instant convertible. I don't think that went quite as planned.
Not quite as planned, but it's no accident that this memorable mistake made the countdown.
And we are testing the myth that you can drive a car underneath a semi-truck trailer, park it, cut the top off, turn it into a convertible, and continue on driving. Get in there. All right, good luck, buddy. Myth seemed simple. The setup was simple, but getting the thing to work was far from simple.
10, 20, 30.
Now, we knew the roof was going to come off. We knew we were getting ourselves a convertible.
And 70.
What we didn't know is that it wouldn't stop. It kept going.
Sometimes failure is not only an option, it's a spectacular surprise.
What's on the other side of that berm?
Uh-oh.
When I watched the rough cut and saw that look on Carrie's face, that mix of fear, panic, and excitement all together, if there is one facial expression that sums up the totality of Mythbusters, that would be it.
Yep, you'd think the Mythbusters would be used to it by now. They should always expect the unexpected.
What I always wanted to imagine is what the people on the freeway were thinking when they saw a car fly up into the air vertically. That must have been a crazy sight.
It was one of those moments where I'm glad nobody got hurt, but I'm also very glad that it went so wrong.
There's more rails, wheels, and wings as we count down the top 12 plane, train, and automobile moments. Next is the story that proves road rage doesn't pay.
I think it's the fact that either rising gas prices hit us all where we live, or the fact that everybody at some point or another has had to tinker with their car. Well, there's your problem. And thus can really kind of get into what we're talking about. We've done truck tailgate up or down, windows versus AC.
This test is being done by professional drivers on a closed track. Your results may differ.
We've done dirty versus clean car and turned a car into a golf ball.
Fact is, it worked. I feel like eating my beret.
We've also tried a whole bunch of mythical gadgets you could purchase, like magnets and super carburetor filters and all sorts of other crap.
This is such total horse.
None of it has increased fuel efficiency by more than 2 or 3%, and most of it hasn't worked at all until Cary Grant and Tori tested whether or not your mood had a large effect on your fuel efficiency.
And it's the astonishing result of Don't Drive Angry that puts this story into the countdown. After the boys had completed driving the circuit normally, Carrie began her psychological torture.
So getting to the truth of this myth is not something that I remember fondly. There are a lot of people that don't understand this. 9 out of 10 people do not understand this. However, that 10th person is like, yes, I totally get you, and I don't like the fish touching me either. Ah!
I think everybody thought that I really enjoyed torturing Grant and Tori with that angry driver myth. I mean, I authentically made them very, very mad at me. It wasn't something I enjoyed. Actually, it kind of was.
Imagine this, being stuck in a car, loud noises, blaring in your ear.
You guys got me. Definitely, you did a great job.
A rat crawling all over your body.
Where did those rats go? Where did you go?
You have to... How do you think you would drive?
Well, as it turned out, 3 times more expensively than a mild-mannered driver.
Which says to me that, people who drive angry are going to be angry not only at the people on the road, but they're going to be really angry because they're using all this gas. And then they're going to be even more angry at that.
So remember, to save on gas and cash, don't drive angry. And at number 9, we're bending the rules.
Planes, trains, and automobiles are all very well and good, but when you're talking sheer fun, nothing beats a motorcycle.
They're not strictly within the remit, but the Mythbusters and bikes have a memorable relationship. None more so than trying the Indiana Jones myth that a flagpole could flip a motorcycle.
3, 2, 1, go!
It totally doesn't work like that, but it was really fun to dress up as Indiana Jones. Jamie actually got into the character of Henry Jones and called me Junior.
Well, the timing was perfect.
If you say so, Junior.
But that was just a precursor to the ultimate in motorcycle mayhem.
Without a doubt, the best 2-wheel story we've ever done is Tablecloth Chaos.
The myth here was that you could pull a tablecloth out from under a banquet table full of settings without upsetting a single dish. But here's the catch, using a motorcycle.
What other story has Jamie trotting out his muscle bike, walking around for several days in full leathers, which he didn't complain about one bit, and then the repeated destruction of flatware and china tumbling onto the ground?
Oops.
I've been riding a bike since before I had a driver's license, so I never miss an opportunity, and especially on this show because we're often allowed to do things that you're really not supposed to do on a road.
Despite getting off to a flying start, Jamie needed more room to talk the torque. So they went outside and souped up their speed.
All right, tablecloth pull with 600 feet of rope at 100 miles per hour. Mr. Hyneman, go!
How fast did we go? Well, we set a limit of 100 miles per hour, but You know, once you get going, you kind of end up going a little faster sometimes.
However, despite Jamie pushing the throttle to 105 miles per hour, it was impossible to pull off this trick without filmic fakery.
A lot of viewers wrote in after that episode and said, my bike goes a lot faster than 100 miles an hour. I could have done that stunt. You missed the point. The point was taking off from a dead stop, and you're just not going to get anywhere near fast enough to do that with any kind of vehicle.
Nope, it won't work. Unless, like Adam and Jamie, you use special effects wizardry.
It's busted.
At number 8, it's the myth that a car could skip a lake.
Car skip was one of those stories that happened while I was on maternity leave.
The car is armed. This is it, you guys. Hit it.
And I was really bummed when I saw it because it was so great. It was the perfect Mythbusters story.
Perfect, but the start didn't go quite to plan, which is often the case with our remote control escapades.
That car didn't skip, it flipped.
Grant loves to RC stuff. In fact, I think if he had his way, we'd all be wearing antennas. But every once in a while, something goes horribly wrong, like the bus jump.
And all over the road.
It seemed straightforward. Drive a remote-controlled bus off a ramp and see how far it flies. Turned out it was anything but.
I just remember we were all sitting there looking at the bus, going down the runway, and it was just like, oh, is he gonna hit it? Whoa, is he gonna hit it? Whoa. We must have reset like 25 times.
25 resets until success, however, is nothing compared to being inside a runaway remote control car.
I'm ready when you are, Jamie.
We were doing a story about a car that pole vaulted because its drive shaft broke. And I also figured that it'd be kind of fun to have Adam ride in the back of the car while I was driving it.
I knew the first sign that things were bad was when the car went over this little embankment and smacked on the ground. Oh! And then it went through this barrier fence. Jamie! And I knew things were really bad.
Whoops! And I had told him that in case there was a problem, all he had to do was reach up front and turn off the key. Should be simple, right?
And I started the calculations to what would it take to rip this rig out and put my foot on the brake to save myself.
He, for some reason, forgot to turn off the key.
When the emergency cutoff took over and the car just stopped.
What the hell was that?
I'm really sorry about that. Here we go again.
But for all the times our joystick jockeys get it wrong,
We're going straight for the X.
there are the incredible moments when they get it spectacularly right. Like making a car skip a lake like a stone.
Now, Grant is known for his remote control skills. I don't know if he did a lot of video gaming when he was a kid, but he is our go-to guy when it comes to the remote control.
And with good reason, because this car had a nitrous booster, making it twice as fast. And also,
Exponentially harder to control. I could potentially have a rocket on my hands.
with that kind of power comes a lot of pressure.
This is crazy, man.
This is totally crazy.
We're like Thelma and Louise.
We are?
In 3, 2, 1, hit it.
But it was water off a duck's back as Grant skipped the car across the lake and into remote control history.
We skipped a car across the lake! Yeah! That is a moment of joy for me to see that car get across the lake and then, just keep going. I mean, that's sort of the pinnacle of an experiment when it works exactly as you planned.
Buckle up, because this moment is all about designated drivers.
Looking good, Grant. Stay on target.
It's fun to make cars remote controlled. But when you need real precision in a myth, you gotta drive the cars yourself.
And thanks to some extreme driving tuition,
Oh, sorry about that.
the Mythbusters have tried all kinds of stunt driving.
Okay, I'm buckling up.
But for Grant, The biggest test of his wheelman skills
Bringing it on in.
was for finding out if you can save fuel by drafting.
They wanted me to drive within inches of the rear bumper.
That is crazy. Yeah, boy.
Which, you know, is a really scary thing. I mean, it's one of the scariest things you can do in a car.
Nicely done.
Grant confirmed that drafting saved fuel, but they weren't finished yet.
Here you go, Power Ranger.
All right, I'm gonna go save the universe.
Now, one thing that didn't actually make the show is the fact that we not only did drafting with a car, but with a bicycle. Tori drafted a big rig on a bicycle.
I just had like a helmet and some body armor.
20 miles per hour, maintaining speed.
I mean, if that truck goes off course or stops, I'm gonna be right underneath the back of it.
Maintaining 20 miles per hour.
That's not gonna be good.
Luckily, Tori stayed in the saddle
This is ridiculous. It's so easy.
and proved that drafting on a bike is a smooth ride.
Once I got up to 20 miles an hour, it felt like there was no resistance whatsoever.
But when it comes to big rigs and stunt driving, one myth reigns supreme.
I can't wait to do this. The stunt driving move that I'm most proud of on the show has to be Knight Rider.
The point of this story was to see whether you could drive onto or off of a moving semi-trailer truck.
I grew up watching Knight Rider. It absolutely is a staple of my childhood. And I have great respect for the Hoff.
I watched that all the time. That was one of my favorite shows. I wanted Kit. In fact, I still might actually build myself a kit someday.
The TV show may have made it look easy, but for Adam, it was anything but.
So the testing procedure looks like it's pretty straightforward. Truck drives in front of me with the ramp down, while I drive up behind it at 55 miles an hour and drive up the ramp and into the truck, except that it started to rain. We couldn't abort. We only had one more day at that location, so I had to do that stunt without actually being able to see the 18-wheeler in front of me until I was right up on top of it. And this spray of rain is spraying in my windshield, and I'm going on pure faith that I've aimed the car correctly, which I did, and luckily it worked.
Look at that! Good job!
The stunt certainly worked, but one thing didn't.
There was one problem with this sequence, and it was in terms of coverage. Back then on Mythbusters, we were using tape cameras, magnetic tape read by little magnetic heads. And at the moment my car hit the ramp of the 18-wheeler, we bumped all the cameras, disengaged the heads for a second, and they all stopped recording for that key moment when I went into the 18-wheeler.
Thankfully, however, the main camera caught all the action. Just like it did when Jamie tried this stunt backwards.
Backing a car out of a semi-trailer truck might seem like it was pretty straightforward, but for me, I might as well have been backing the car off a cliff.
Nice work, Hyneman.
Because all I was doing was putting the car in reverse and gunning it, and all I could see out the rearview mirror was sky. That Knight Rider stunt was either the most fun I've ever had with a car or the most terrifying. I'm not sure which.
Fun and terrifying. That's exactly why it makes the list. Well, for now at least.
Would I say that was the apex of my stunt driving career? I wouldn't think so. I would like to think that the high points are yet to come.
Indeed, and our next high point is the most controversial myth of all.
The vehicle myths have been especially controversial. You've got Cary Grant and Tori getting tons of crap for doing bifurcated boat, but not on the water.
Well, it didn't bifurcate, but it was still pretty cool.
Every single time we do a fuel efficiency myth, we get crap for it, or somebody disagrees, or somebody has some small modification they say we didn't do. It's a never-ending conversation.
It's better to drive with your pickup tailgate up than it is down.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to wait for their emails to come.
But that pales in comparison to the vitriol of this story.
You never know what's going to get people going, but I must say I was surprised when playing on a conveyor belt turned out to be so darn controversial. This myth was basically a thought experiment that said that if you were a plane trying to take off on a conveyor belt that was going in the opposite direction that the plane wanted to go, you wouldn't be able to take off.
In the beginning, Jamie didn't even want to do this story because when I first explained to him that it was a controversial concept, he was like, why would anyone believe the plane wouldn't take off? That's idiotic.
It was like, I'm going to be able to fly if I flap my arms fast enough. It's not going to happen.
I had to print out 2-inch thick pile of internet arguments to show him that this was absolutely worth us doing on the show.
And once they started testing,
I'm ready.
Okay, go.
their mini plane and makeshift conveyor belt proved the myth was clear for takeoff.
Is that a flying plane?
That is a flying plane, and it was on the paper when it took off.
Excellent.
So it was time to go full scale.
Because we couldn't find a conveyor belt that would accommodate an airplane taking off, we decided to go out to a runway and just cover the entire runway with a material that was like a conveyor belt.
It's like making a very big bed.
And then we pulled it.
Light sport, you're clear to take off.
All right, this is full-size airplane on a conveyor belt. For real this time. All right. Go, Jamie, go.
The result of the test showed that the plane actually was able to take off. Because what the wheels are doing on the ground doesn't have any relevance to what the plane is doing. The plane flies by moving forward through the air, and there's nothing that is happening with the conveyor belt that is keeping it from doing that.
Oh, that was beautiful!
But despite proving once and for all that a plane on a conveyor belt would take to the air, believe it or not, there are still some who say the plane would remain grounded.
For those of you who still do not believe me, here is an experiment you can actually do at home. Go buy yourself a little balsa wood airplane with a rubber band propeller. Take that treadmill you've had sitting in the closet and pull it out into the living room and turn it on its highest setting. Put the plane on it, and you will notice that no matter how fast your treadmill is going in the opposite direction, that plane will still move forward. Myth busted.
So far on planes, trains, and automobiles,
You guys got me.
getting from A to B has never been so much fun. And coming in at number 5 is a myth all about risking life and limb.
Now, a lot of times on the show, we have to use a human being to test the myth. There's no way around it. We become the guinea pigs.
It's not just important that we are the human guinea pigs we experiment with on the show.
Brake hard left.
It is the most important aspect of this show. We go through these experiences ourselves, and then we talk about what it was like. And because we're all different, we have different viewpoints on the same experience, and thus the audience really gets a much more visceral understanding of what's going on.
And when it comes to thrills and spills, one shocking moment has it all.
Urinating on the third rail was about somebody that peed on the electrified portion of a railroad. Allegedly, he got electrocuted. Testing this involved several key components. We had to replicate an anatomically correct human body. That body had to be able to urinate.
Looks like a pretty convincing stream to me.
Yeah. And we had to have an electrified third rail.
And to replicate an accurate human flow rate, they needed a point of comparison.
The real tricky part was when we had to figure out the flow rate. And at that point, I had to pee on high-speed camera.
All right, here we go.
This is not our ballistics dummy that we're looking at here, right?
Peeing for the high-speed camera was definitely the strangest thing I had ever done in my life up till that point. Today, it's just another day at the office.
All right.
Adam passing water passed muster. And they put the data to use with their anatomically correct dummy.
We've gotten a few complaints over the years from the fact that we built what we called an anatomically correct buster and then hid that part behind a fig leaf, but the fact is, it was a tube. It was a tube that looked a little suggestive for our show, which is really, you have to admit, a family show, and thus, the fig leaf.
Well, fig leaf or not, the myth was busted.
Nothing. Not a thing.
Until the viewers challenged the result.
A lot of people are sending us emails saying that, well, I peed on an electric fence on the farm and I got a shock.
And of course, that shocking statistic had to be put to the test.
It works.
After building the electrified fence, Adam was gonna pee on it, and he asked me if I wanted to do it. And I was like, you know what, you already have kids, I don't. I'm gonna pass on that one.
So Adam was volunteered to literally put his body on the line.
I'm not looking forward to it, but I'm ready to try the experiment. Are you?
I'm not doing it.
Can I point out that I've already been painted with gold paint and had an anal probe today?
You're doing a wonderful job. Adam was a good sport anyway, and he took one for the team.
Okay, we're gonna try an aim here.
I tried to watch Adam pee on the electric fence, but when I started to look down there, I realized I'd have to look at his junk, and so I decided not to.
Well, there's no doubt our shock jock took charge.
Wait, I gotta work one up. Hold on.
Is there a problem there?
I'm just grateful that the shock was that small.
Oh, there we go. I got a shock. It was nothing.
I have been shocked by the full force of that electric fence in the Baghdad Battery episode. And I'm really glad I didn't take that in my privates.
And at number 4, it's the ultimate automotive transformation.
Oh, yeah!
We've done a lot of weird things to cars.
Oh, and it's away! Nice try!
We put rockets on them.
Fire!
Covered them in clay. We've installed diesel-powered speakers in them. And yet, I think we're just getting started.
Yep, we've pimped, pumped, and pigged our cars in the name of science.
Hop in, you want to take a ride?
In fact, we've made every conceivable modification and then some.
I'd say, without a doubt, cutting a car body off and reattaching it backwards was the wildest thing we've ever done, and that's what we did in reverse engineering.
This is a myth I heard in the 80s, that there was a certain model of sports car, we shall remain unnamed, that was so poorly designed it was more aerodynamic going backwards than forwards.
So to test that,
One lift! Look at that.
the guys reversed the engineering of a car.
Nice!
I'm confused. What exactly is this?
The result was a car with its lid literally flipped.
Well, I know for all intents and purposes it looks like I'm sitting on the hood, but check this out. That's the exhaust.
It was an unmistakably Mythbusters mod.
What can I say? It's nuts. It's the kind of thing you'll only see on Mythbusters.
But actually driving the car turned out to be more than just a pain in the neck.
That is the most uncomfortable car ever.
The driving that reverse car was disgusting.
Dude, this is so much fun!
Dirt came off the road and just covered me for every test. I went home and I was completely filthy. It looked like I'd been working in a coal mine.
But for our backseat driver, the most important test was if the reverse-engineered car could vanquish its right-sided counterpart.
A lot of people say, oh, you can't race one car against another like that because the engines could be tuned differently. That's exactly why we went to the drift.
Reverse engineering, drift off. Gentlemen, start your engine. 3, 2, 1, go!
Think of it. When we get those two cars neck and neck up to 100 miles an hour and then cut into neutral, those cars drift.
And drift.
As they head towards the finish line, the only difference between them is their aerodynamics. Not the engine tuning, not the exhaust tuning, not anything. So we were eliminating all of that as a possibility in terms of the aerodynamic efficiency of both cars. Thus, the first one off the finish line is the more aerodynamically efficient. I love how simple that is.
Simple. And since the reverse engineering didn't engineer a win, busted.
Oh!
Coming in fast and furious at number 3 is one for the speed freaks.
Mythbusters and speed go together like this. Best friends forever. We love speed. We love going fast. We love things that go fast, and even Jamie gets a big fat smile on that mustachioed face when he goes really, really fast.
That need for speed has seen the team put the pedal to the metal. And put rockets on cars for explosive acceleration.
Or not.
But those can't compare to traveling at the speed of sound.
It is absolutely easy to determine the fastest we've ever gone on the show. It is when I flew with the Blue Angels to test the sonic boom myth.
Strap in. It's time to go supersonic.
The question here was whether or not every time you have an aircraft creating a sonic boom when it flies over a house, it's going to break glass in that house.
You ready to go flying? I am.
We discussed it in-house who would fly, and we realized that it had to be me because I was going to get sick, and that was going to be funny as opposed to Jamie's stoic face under 7Gs, which would just look, you know, a little heavier.
And from the very first surprise rapid ascent,
Ready to go flying? I am. Ready, hit it.
the G-forces had Adam's stomach churning.
Oh. I'd like to add a couple of notes about the vomiting and the passing out.
Wow.
One is I didn't actually vomit until the third time we pulled 7Gs in some kind of barrel roll. I managed to make it 2 full times without getting sick.
I'm starting to feel a little nauseous. I think I may throw up. All right, you got the bags back there?
The other one about the passing out, which really surprised me, was that the pilot knew that I was about to pass out before even I knew.
Going on up to 5Gs. We got 5Gs, 5.5.
And he's looking at me through this tiny little mirror, but he could see this telltale sign of my eyes going cloudy. And then my head, he's like, stay with me, Adam.
Come on, stick with me, Adam. You got it. You got it.
And I was like, and I brought myself back out of the tunnel. And then I went all the way in the tunnel and I totally passed out.
Come on, stay with us. Stay with us. We got it. Come back. You with me? I'm with you. I passed out there for a second.
But Adam's aerobatics were just the beginning.
Mythbusters, Blue Angels, test site.
The real question was, would the sonic boom shatter glass?
That ought to do it.
We are headed straight for the 2,000 feet at Mach 1.07.
Wow, that was something.
How loud was it on the ground? Well, we were wearing earplugs and earmuffs, if that tells you anything.
The sound may have been ear-splitting, but despite flying as low as 200 feet, it wasn't the boom that broke the glass, but the distortion of the frame.
Well, there's your problem.
But for Adam, it was all worth it.
You know, when you're a kid, you always want to end up being some kind of secret agent or superhero. And Mythbusters has really allowed me to explore so many aspects of that. I have literally been faster than a speeding bullet. I have not yet leaped a building in a single bound, but that's on our list.
Coming in at number 2 is a story so big, we did it twice.
The myth was that a taxi drove behind a jet airliner as it was taking off, and the blast from the jet picked up the taxi and just threw it.
The first time the Mythbusters tried to test this myth, the insurance company took the wind out of their sails.
Jet taxi was our first intimate experience with insurance. And the thing that I couldn't wrap my head around was how we were going to damage a jet airplane by putting something behind it.
We don't know what the jet will do to the taxi.
That there's no way in hell that taxi is going to do anything but go farther away from the jet.
I didn't get it.
Oh, that would have flipped our taxi!
But 2 years later, the guys got wind of another chance at a jet.
When an opportunity came up again to do it, there's no way we're turning it down.
Yep, in Michigan, Kalita Air and their 747 were more than happy to let the Mythbusters blow off some steam.
I love you, man. I love you.
So I'm standing there, I'm looking at this 747. I mean, this thing is a $50 million plane, and it puts out 54,000 pounds of thrust.
Look at the size of these engines!
They're gonna let us put a taxi in front of it. It's just crazy.
Maybe, but crazy is what we do.
Need to change. Good luck, buddy.
The taxi was lined up, and the engines roared into action.
and all of a sudden, part of the runway peels up. This whole bed of pavement just flies away, kind of like a roof in a hurricane. And that was it. I was like, that's it. They're going to shut us down. They're not going to let us continue testing. The owner came out, looked at it, laughed, and we kept going.
By this stage, it was clear, come hail or high water, the cab was going into the jet stream.
Coming up to power.
I had no idea what we were about to see. That taxi tumbled down the lawn just head over heels, over and over. I mean, it was so much force.
Getting the cab to flip was good enough. But I mean, this is the one chance that we get to play with an actual 747. I mean, do you really think we're gonna stop there?
You're gonna be a bus driver now.
This is a full-size school bus, and the jet wash just picked up the bus like it was nothing, flipped it over and slammed it down right on its roof and crushed the whole thing. I mean, it was amazing.
Yep, it certainly was the school of hard knocks for our bus. Making the jet taxi myth literally a blast.
You know, with footage like this, it's easy to see why this is the biggest and most badass moment.
Well, not quite, Grant. There's one more to come. And now the #1 moment. The fantastic finale of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And it's all about our destructive relationship with cars.
We've set them on fire. We've shot them up. We've crashed them. We've dropped them from helicopters. We've blown them up.
The fact is, we've destroyed so many that choosing one as a perfect representation of the ultimate car explosion is impossible. It's like trying to decide which is better, Star Trek or Star Wars. Star Wars, by the way. At any rate, we've each decided to pick our own favorite.
With so much car carnage over the years, our hosts just can't agree on the best. And that means that we've got 5 times the awesome automotive mayhem.
So one of my favorite car destruction sequences was when we split the car with a snowplow in Wisconsin.
Now that is the plow we're looking for.
So picture this wonderful snowy landscape, car at one end, giant razor-sharp snowplow blade at the end of this giant snowplow at the other end.
In 3, 2, 1, go!
Tow the car really fast, go straight down the track, and the thing splits like a banana peel. See a car almost split in 2? That's once in a lifetime.
Once in a lifetime, like driving a car stuck together with duct tape after Carrie has had her evil way with it.
All right, time to wreck this car. Personally, my favorite way to destroy a car? By hand. I love destroying cars. Breaking glass, crunching metal. It's awesome. Taking a car apart, completely destroying it, is this really amazing cathartic experience. The shattering of glass, the smoking of the torch, the just metal falling apart before you. Every bit of angst you've ever had gets released. I love it! I highly recommend it. Forget therapy.
Yep, for the Mythbusters, the best therapy is destruction. Something Jamie knows a lot about.
I have to say, I think Dukes of Hazzard was my favorite because that involved running a car at a ramp at high speed, and it had to go through the air something like 175 feet without going splat.
And for that, all they did was build a ramp
Nothing like a good hump, is what I always say.
and then remote control a car over it at 70 miles per hour. Simple, right?
The thing was that it all had to come together perfectly for it to work, and that was a pretty tall order.
You can totally do it.
A tall order, which Jamie more than matched.
Oh, my Lord.
The car flew 173 feet through the air, but the landing was a little rough.
The car's busted, the myth is busted.
It's very hard on a car if you do that.
Hard on the car for sure, but when it comes to automotive torture, Tori's choice has it all.
The Green Hornet episode, we probably did more damage to cars than we've ever done in the history of Mythbusters. I mean, we took this beautiful classic car,
Now that's a pretty car.
shot it up with machine guns. Well, that didn't suck. And then stuck it in a steel elevator to see if we could crush it in half. That didn't work, so then we just chopped a car in half. And drove that around. It was brutal.
Brutal indeed. They did everything bar blowing it up. But that's okay, because Adam's favorite has that covered.
Mine is the viewer special explosion. This kid had written to us saying he wanted us to blow up his parents' car, and we agreed to do it.
And in typical Mythbusters style, they granted this wish not once, but twice.
First time, it's going to be a movie-style explosion, like from the 70s TV shows that you grew up with.
For that movie-style explosion, the guys created some movie-style action.
Jamie and I stood a safe distance away. I think it was about 100 feet. I had a mat in front of me, and Jamie had an explosives plunger.
Fire in the hole! 3, 2, 1!
Jamie's action was to push the plunger, and mine was to be running and to be hopefully in midair at the exact second he pushed that plunger. So that when the actual explosion went off, there I was in midair on that high-speed shot. Man, it is my favorite high-speed shot. It is me reliving my 7-year-old desire to be an action movie hero. And we got the shot.
But the Hollywood stunt action took a dive when it came to the real-world explosion.
Fire in the hole! 3, 2, 1!
Because one thing is for sure, with the Mythbusters around, it doesn't matter how, it's gonna be Carmageddon.
No more car!